Yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Please excuse the tone of my voice and possible sweating as I've come down with a small touch of the flu. But the show goes on, and well, the news is starting to hit. Now, are we talking about Jagmeet Singh today and his flip-flop that everybody saw coming from a mile away? A little bit, but it actually leads into a larger problem, and that is, in fact, what's happening in Canada in response to Jagmeet Singh's announcement that he, of course, has flip-flopped once again. He's going to support the Liberal government when they come back, because we all knew this was going to happen anyway. So it's not really a story about that. But what they're going to do in response to Donald Trump's tariffs, we've talked about this to great extent. Now things are going to get possibly, I don't want to say worse, but it's going to shift the landscape of our election as we head into it. First and foremost, I want to move over to what Jagmeet Singh said yesterday. This being reported over by True North, the NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says he might be open to supporting the government's work relief program before supporting a non-confidence vote. He believes all party leaders should meet to discuss support for workers. Now, Jagmeet Singh, of course, has come forward and said that he is supporting the Liberal government moving forward, that he will not vote. He'll vote in confidence. He'll support them. He likes what Mark Carney's bringing to the table. That's a little cut off there. Let's just play the video here. Let's give you guys a glimpse of what he had to say.
If Trump follows through on his plan with tariffs, would you keep the Liberals in power and allow for the passage of a work relief program before supporting a non-confidence motion?
I'll just start off by the fact that I've spoken with a lot of workers who are deeply worried about what the Trump tariffs might mean. They say, sometimes I lay awake at night saying, if that tariff goes through, do I lose my job? And what's going to happen to my kids? What's going to happen to my family? And when we think about the analysis that's out there, if those Trump tariffs come in place, there are hundreds and thousands of Canadian jobs at risk. Think about what that means for those workers, hundreds of thousands of workers, for their families, for those communities. This could be devastating for our country. So we do need to have a plan in place to support those that are impacted, those businesses, those workers, most importantly. I have not had any conversations with other opposition leaders. I think we need to come together to have a discussion about what is the best way forward. I've not had any discussions with the government related to this. If there is any desire to move forward, the government should call us together, like we did during COVID, and discuss a plan that supports workers. We, as a party of working people, a party founded by workers, want to make sure that there's a plan in place for workers. It's why we said from the beginning, EI is clearly not up to the task.
So I'm just going to cut him off there because it really doesn't matter what else he has to say. The bottom line here of what he's doing is saying, look, we care about workers. It's all about the workers. He did this when, I don't know if you guys remember when Canada Post held the country hostage, just like he's famous for doing just before Christmas time. And I'm not talking about the employees, but the unions that held Canada hostage by strategically placing their strikes like they always do just before the holidays to essentially squeeze out whatever they can. Well, Jagmeet Singh said during that time as well that if the Liberal government puts back a work to rule, then they're going to vote non-confidence. Well, we all know what happened there. No non-confidence vote came in, and eventually Canada Post went back to work. Jagmeet Singh also putting out a letter just before the holidays stating that when Parliament came back, of course, and I said it then, folks, everyone said he's going to flip-flop, just like tearing up his agreement in the fall. He's going to come back. He's going to have a reason to support. People were already calling Mark Carney coming in. Yes. And we said at that time, what makes this different and where things are going to get real nasty is that Jagmeet, he put it in writing. He put it in a actual Parliament letterhead stating that he had lost confidence in this Liberal government, that he was moving forward because, of course, he had his pension. So a lot of people might be asking themselves now, why would Jagmeet Singh still support the Liberals now that he has his pension? Why is this Maserati Marxist sticking around? Well, rumors are going around. Again, this is rumors. I can't verify, so please do not take this as written law. But rumors are circulating that Jagmeet is eyeing a deputy position along Mark Carney's cabinet. Obviously, the NDP don't want anything to do with him as he continues this because he's going to essentially put them in non-party status. He's going to rip that party to the ground. In fact, I would be shocked at this point if some form of a merger, a permanent merger, wasn't discussed in order to try and save face. That being said, Jagmeet's doing what Jagmeet does best. He turns tail, he flip-flops, he thinks that Canadians actually give a shit about what he has to say or that they're buying what he's shoveling. It's not. Now, for many days, I've been saying, what is the benefit if the government goes to war with Donald Trump? If they go on a trade war, essentially? Well, it benefits them, it benefits their pockets. And now, when you think about the warnings that came from Liz Truss over in the UK, when she talked about how Mark Carney's net zero practices bankrupted the Bank of England, especially during the Brexit period, this is how they're going to do it again. The Liberals now stand a chance at clinging to power because they believe, and this is where it gets really funny, ladies and gentlemen, that they can buy people's votes. I want to share this article. Trump tariff threat. Canada preps potential pandemic-level relief plan. White House says February 1st still holds. So again, nobody wants to come to the table and talk about a real solution. Ultimately, the best solution right now is call an election. If you guys are really concerned about workers, if you're concerned about the tariffs, this is where, again, the hypocrisy comes in, and media is going to start calling these guys out on all of their nonsense, is that they can talk about workers till the cows come home, but at this point, the questions are going to start pouring out of, well, if you really care about the workers, why aren't you just voting non-confidence and calling an election and allowing a stronger, newer government the ability to go in and negotiate with Donald Trump? That would be the ideal solution, especially when you look at the work Danielle Smith's doing these days. But no, Jagmeet Singh says the best thing to do is go to war with Donald Trump and push back. It says here that the federal government is planning a stimulus package to help businesses and Canadians if U.S. President Donald Trump imposes tariffs on Canadian goods, but the scale of the relief will depend on the scope of the tariffs, sources tell CTV News. Remember back during the coup when we talk about CERB and how well that worked out? I mean, you had Revenue Canada agents claiming CERB when they weren't supposed to. You had people in jail claiming CERB when they weren't supposed to. And the majority of Canadians that actually used it and needed it were told to pay it back with clawback, by the way, even if they qualified for it. The rules were not written out properly. We'll say requirements in order to meet to get CERB were not properly defined. It was just merely, if you make X amount of dollars in a year, you just get it. And then the government changed their mind, ruining the lives of, I'll say, hundreds of thousands, if not maybe 1 million or 2 Canadians. Here we've got them saying, the sources also say that the aid could reach pandemic level relief. The response will be contingent on how big Trump's tariffs are. Specific programs also have yet to be designed, according to sources. The reason they're not talking about it is because this is going to be how the Liberals try to stay in power, how they try to win back those votes that they've lost to Pierre Poilievre with Justin Trudeau's sinking ship. I've said it before on live streams. You're going to see the new leader come in, and you're going to see them promise the world to people. For all the... And again, we're not preaching doom and gloom here, but I just want everybody to look at the reality of this. When you look at the people that typically vote Liberal, NDP, some of the things they've been championing recently are universal basic income. They've been pushing for the federal government to say, here's a bunch of money for doing nothing. Sit back, relax, you'll own nothing, you'll be happy. And a lot of lefties, people who typically vote left, we're not talking about lefty wackos, we're just talking people who vote left, champion those kind of things because they see it as a way out. There's no need to cut back on programs or tighten our belts a bit. You just print more money, everything will be fine. Those people clearly don't understand economics. It says here that in late November, Trump threatened to impose the tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico on day one of his second term. Speaking to reporters Tuesday afternoon, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Trump's February 1st date is still holding. Trump was asked and answered the question this past weekend when he took a lot of questions from the press. He said that February 1st date for Canada and Mexico still holds. Trump initially used the flow of illegal migrants and drugs over the border as rationale for imposing the steep tariffs, but he has since shifted his rhetoric, to praising the use of tariffs on their own merit, because Donald Trump right now is talking about abolishing income tax for Americans, but they need funding for that. What better way to do it than by taking all products that come out of the United States and posting a tariff on it? Says here that asked whether Canada has met the bar to address Trump's concerns to avoid tariffs, Leavitt said, "I won't get ahead of the president again on advocating for foreign nations on what they should or shouldn't do to get away from these tariffs." Later adding, "As far as I'm still tracking," and that was last night talking to the president directly, February 1st is still on the books. Many economic experts say a tariff war could wreak havoc, on the Canadian economy and cost millions of jobs. According to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, 25% tariff could cost the average Canadian household $1,900 annually and shrink Canada's gross domestic product by 2.6%. When you talk about $1,900 annually, that's roughly $130 a month that it's going to affect the average person. Now, articles have come out stating that most Canadians are $100 to $200 away from not being able to pay their bills. That one minor misstep could result in them being homeless. So when you talk about this $1,900 annually, that's a big deal. However, again, this is where it gets funny, and this is where it gets to the point where haven't we had enough yet? Like, this is where the pressure should be onto these parties. This is where I'm saying our laws have to change. Our electoral system has to change. That if they just called an election, I'm sure all would be well and fine. I'm sure Trump would hold off to see how that election goes before pushing tariffs on Canada. You'd have an incoming prime minister who supports Danielle Smith, who supports getting our products to market, who seems to think that he has the testicular fortitude to negotiate with Donald Trump. So why won't these liberals or the NDP or these Maserati Marxists, whatever you want to call them, the Weffers, why won't they call an election? Well, it's because it's all part of their plan. I've said it from day one. It's all part of their plan. This is by design. They want this. Mark Carney already did it to the UK. It says here, many economics... we did that already. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had already signaled that the federal government will step in to support Canadians should the tariffs move ahead. Why is Justin Trudeau speaking for us? I've said it before. He's resigned. At a caucus retreat last week in Montebello, Quebec, Trudeau acknowledged that a trade war would negatively impact Canadian consumers. He also went down to the United States and told Donald Trump that we would dissolve if he stopped giving us money, subsidizing us, buying our cars, buying our products. There will be costs for Canadians if we move forward on tariffs to the United States, and that's why we will be there to support and compensate Canadians and Canadian businesses, depending on the response we have, Trudeau said. This is just another excuse to print money. It's the same as the pandemic. If we thought that our deficit was huge now, this is the final nail in the coffin. Again, this is where, I say that reporters, at least if they have any integrity, are going to have to start calling out the hypocrisy here. That he says there will be cost to Canadians if we move forwards on tariffs. How about the cost to Canadians if you don't secure the border? If you don't do what you were supposed to do? It was very simple instructions. Fix the border, and I won't put any tariffs in. Rather than fix the border, it's been, no, let's go dollar for dollar with Trump. Let's go toe to toe. Even though they have a powerhouse, we've got nothing at the table. We're bluffing. Call an election. I know I keep saying it. The big question here is, will the opposition support tariff relief? Any new relief program will require Parliament to resume, again, meaning that the SDTC documents have to be handed over, and support from the opposition, but the Conservatives, NDP, and Bloc have all said they intend to bring down the minority Liberal government of its first opportunity. Now, again, I'm assuming this article was put forward before Jagmeet Singh's statement that he will support the Liberals moving forward. Parliament is currently prorogued until the 24th of March. The sources tell CTV News that that is not a concern, as aid would not need to be rolled out immediately. For who? Businesses or people? Again, when we talk about $1,900 a year, most Canadians are on the verge of being broke over a couple $100. So why wouldn't it need to be rolled out immediately? If it were to be offered. I'm not suggesting it should be. Asked on Tuesday if he would keep the Liberals in power and support a bailout package, Jagmeet Singh would not answer directly. Singh also said he had not had any conversations with the government on the matter. Again, he's reiterated a little more clearly that he plans to vote the Liberals back in. He's going to flip-flop. He's not voting non-confidence. Mark Carney's offered him money. He's offered him something. Whether it's a deputy position, whether it's a little sack of money on the side, that's up to debate. for anybody here to question. My question to you, the viewer, is where do you see the solution to this problem? Where do you see this going for Canada? Do you believe that we should form some kind of UBI or relief for businesses while the government tries to have a dick measuring contest with Donald Trump? Or should they call an election? Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm pretty sure I already know where those comments are going to sit, but leave those comments nonetheless, folks, with a thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm more than you think. It helps get this news out there for the censors that are pushing us down. Speaking of censors, if you enjoyed this video, I hope it's earned your subscription. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps us, again, more than you think as we build our large fringe majority with censorship on the rise. Your subscription guarantees that you're going to get stories like this and other ones as we head into election season, and stories that the government ultimately isn't putting out on mainstream media or making sure that you get to your eyes and ears as we move forward in what's going to be one of the most important elections in Canadian history. So make sure you hit that button, folks. Click your bell for notifications. Join me live tonight on the channel. I'll do a stream. I know I'm sick, but hey, I'm going to do it anyways, because why not, right? Who needs bed rest? Let's on with the show. Not only tonight am I going to do a live stream, but every Friday here on the channel, joined by my beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe, our weekly show, Friday Night Fringe, where we go over everything that's happened this week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as some back and forth within the community. We look forward to hearing what you guys have to say outside of making these videos, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say this Friday and tonight, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.